very good morning to all our viewers. সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি আমাদের এই লেকচার সিরিজে। এক মিনিট, দুঃখিত। আমাদের এই লেকচার সিরিজটার বিষয় হলো সংস্কৃতি ও ব্যক্তিত্ব, কালচার অ্যান্ড পার্সোনালিটি ইন ইংলিশ। এবং এই সিরিজটি চলছে, আজকে এই সিরিজের ষষ্ঠ পর্ব। এবং আমরা we are very happy to have Professor Saswati Biswas with us today. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
This series is being organized by the Department of Sociology, Birpara College, which is a college, a government-aided college in the Alipurduar district. We also have as organizers of the series the educational and cultural station of Belur. As I said, this is the sixth lecture in the series. The topic today is patriarchy, caste, and the development of the self. এই বিষয়ে বলবেন Professor Saswati Biswas from University of North Bengal. She is an academic with vast experience and varied interests, which include gender, healthcare, sustainable social development, and other topics. Professor Saswati Biswas has taken up a very interesting topic today, because in particular, caste is probably one topic which is not discussed enough, particularly in West Bengal. So we look forward to her presentation today. To all our viewers, we just request, if you have any questions which come to your mind during Professor Saswati Biswas's presentation, please write them in the chat box, and we will, after the lecture, we will convey the messages, the questions to Professor Biswas for her response. Over to you, Professor Saswati Biswas, and thank you for joining our lecture series.
Yes, I would also like to thank all the organizers who have invited me, especially Kamruz Zaman, who has been sort of insisting that, Madam, please, you should join. Usually I'm not very much present in public spaces other than my classroom, but here I am in your midst. And first of all, I must ask of all of you to forgive me for something that I'm not speaking to you in Bengali, which should have been the ideal thing to do. Actually, I am Bengali. I can understand, read everything, but due to my bringing up in Shillong and due to my growing up and the whole of my, academic absorption being in English, it is very difficult for me to talk in Bengali, so I hope you'll pardon me for this time. Now, coming to my topic of study, like we say, more things change, the more they remain the same. Like we have women around us, we see so many girls teaching in colleges, in schools, in private enterprises, in big institutions. And we think that, see how things are changing, how the lives of girls are changing. But small thing, like yesterday I was surfing, I watched this Saregamapa program of ZTV, and there was an advertisement of another serial. And there, the lady of the house, a guest is there, a young girl guest is there, and the lady of the house, and this young girl has to go for an interview or something, and she wants to, all the male members of the house, they are invited for the dinner or breakfast, whatever it is. And this girl, because she is in a hurry, she wants to eat first. And being a guest in that house, the lady of the house is saying that this is your sister's in-laws house, and in my house the men eat first. And then the girl says that, but I have some work. And then her son, maybe one, he's telling his mother, see, she's our guest, and can't you change the rule for one day for the guest? And then she allows. So just see the mindset of our people. even now to this day, that the son also is not thinking that the mother is doing something improper and should be saying that, ma, she is, why are you saying that? It doesn't matter whether we eat together or not. Let her eat. She has some work. And the more important thing in this is that the large viewership which these types of serials get. So what does this show? That the more we change, the more we remain the same. Why should such, when girls are coming out, when they are so much like in our state, for example, they are quite substantially present in the public domain, then why should this type of serials get the large audience which they are getting? Why should South Indian girls, just after getting a job, why should they go start saving for their dowries? Why we keep on asking why. So that is why I thought that why not speak on something which is related so much to our lives. And I, as a student, I still consider myself as a student of sociology, like to take approach whenever I take undertake a study, and most of the time I am involved in studying the marginalized sections. I take a standpoint theory, research standpoint, like I view, that is, I try to view things from the standpoint of the people whom I am studying. And I believe very much in the feminist methodology, where no difference is made between personal and political, where there is little difference made between the researcher, the observer, and the observed, where we do not look down upon passionate research. We don't think that research should be impassionate, objective. We think that research should involve some degree of passion. And as a researcher, as someone who is placed better, I have a duty towards society, which I serve through the purpose of my research. Now, coming back to patriarchy. Now, patriarchy is a sort of ideology, it is a system of values. It is an ideology which has been going on for a long, long period of time, right from the time when men have sort of started dominating society, in relation to either ownership of the means of production, or identifying the sort of or pinpointing upon the inheritance of property. And so this value of patriarchy, this ideology of patriarchy, it is there irrespective of one being a man or a woman. A man may be outside the domain of patriarchy. A man may think very much like one who is objective, who doesn't think that I should be, wielding, I should be the owner of my family. I should not have that feeling of ownership in relation to my family. On the other hand, a woman may behave in a very patriarchal way, where she is always supporting all the patriarchal values and she is contributing to the continuation of those patriarchal values for a long period of time. So you find women also become agents of patriarchy, and they are also involved in exploitation of women, which patriarchy is all about. So since it is an ideology, it can belong to men and women, it cannot belong to men also. All men are not or do not ascribe to the ideology of patriarchy. They may be living a different life altogether. Now, what are the areas we find where patriarchy is very, very dominant? For example, there are 6 structures which scholars have identified, which may be independent at one level but interdependent at another level. For example, production relation at home, the women's unpaid production or women's unpaid domestic labor, which is not performed most of the time for herself, because she is most of the time the last person to eat, the last person to consider. The whenever she falls sick also, like till it is possible, she will not be thinking of going to a doctor. Now in this production relations, in this situation of unpaid domestic labor, I was finding it very interesting when demonetization came up. this lady is working throughout the day for the family, and there were so many jokes around, how what is happening to the money which the women had stolen from their husbands. That is, they were notes of those notes which had been banned, and now they have fallen in a very queer position, because now what will they do? They have to come out with the truth that they had stolen the money from the husband's pocket somehow. So you see how strange the situation is, that the money is, just because that person is earning the money belongs to him, and this whole unpaid labor literally goes unpaid. And when this, and to the extent that she has to lower herself to such an extent that it is, even if it is jokingly, it has some meaning, it has some inner meaning, that she is sort of, it is thought that she doesn't own that money is her husband's, and she has stolen it. And see, now she is so uncomfortable, she has to come out with the truth that she has stolen the money. So you see the household production relations within the household, how it is reflected. And then even in paid work, till now we find that most of the paid work, better paid work at certain sections, are occupied by women. In unskilled work of low pay, women are employed, and in the better work, which are highly paid, which has prestige, they are in the domain of men. Then the patriarchal state is also there. The state goes out of its way to behave in a patriarchal manner. Now, there are so many examples which we can show the patriarchal nature of the state. Every day we see how the different institutions function, what happens to a rape victim, what happens in the cases of domestic violence, how they are addressed by the state. And then we find that it could also be, we can see and we can show this from an example like the 22% reservation for women in the legislative assembly. Still today it has not come about. No one is in agreement. The parties in power, they are not in agreement, they in allowing this percent of reservation for women. Or you see reproductive health. The birth of children very often is not in the hands of women, but see, all the reproductive health measures, they are targeted at women. You have tubectomy, you have vasectomy. So the vasectomy, hardly 1% vasectomy is performed, whereas the percentage of tubectomy is so high. So you see that, and the in different ways, for example, the getting of loans for any purpose, it has to be in the name of someone who has property, who can return the loan, and naturally it is the men. So you don't have to, you just have to look around yourself to see the patriarchal nature of the state. Then violence is another thing. It could be structural violence, it could be direct violence, like it could be a fact that among the lower class people mainly you have domestic violence, or even among the higher class you have domestic violence. But there are situations of structural violence also, where the social structure is or the social structure functions in such a way that it sort of inflicts not direct violence but structural violence upon women. Then you have patriarchal relations in sexuality, where only heterosexual relations are accepted. The third gender, or any type of femininity in a male personality, is looked down upon and is considered as, like, when you have to be an ideal citizen, the women has to learn, if they are to join the army, if they are to join any of those forces, they have to try to become more like men, and they are glorified. See, they have performed so well in the areas where men have performed. But the qualities which women possess, which women are ideally supposed to possess, like softness, tenderness, and and gentleness, if a man possesses those qualities to a certain degree which crosses a border, then that person will be denigrated as effeminate and looked down upon. So these are different ways in which patriarchy works. In cultural institutions also, you have patriarchy. All the institutions, educational institutions, when my daughter was very small in KG, they had in some subject, English or whatever, that you have to write that my mother works in the kitchen, cooks in the kitchen, and my father goes out to work. And my daughter wouldn't write that. She would say that my mother also goes out to work, my father also goes out to work. And the teacher would always mark it wrong. That whatever is written in the book, that your mother is cooking in the kitchen and washing clothes, that only you must write. So the educational institutions, cultural institutions, the media, the objectification of women in the media, the advertisements which we see, all these in one way or the other contribute towards, the maintenance and strengthening of patriarchal values. And consequently, in India also, naturally, as all over the world, we are also a patriarchal society. All this patrifocality, focus on the patter, is very much present in Indian society also. For example, women are taught to, you know, subordinate their own interest in the interest of the family. Any type of interest you will see, the job or whatever, when the bride is chosen, then the in-laws will go to her house and ask her to sing maybe or perform. But once she is married and she comes to their family, there is very little chance of her continuing with her passion. So the individual must sort of subordinate, the women must always subordinate their interest to the interest of the family. Then family authority also, the man is the head of the household, so whatever he or he decides must be obeyed. And in the Indian society, one thing comes out in another clear way is the power of the brother over the sister. The parents also will say, no, no, your brother has said no, so you must always listen to him. So these are the ways. Then family control of marriage is there, patrilineal descent is there, patrifocal residence. The residence is so very patrifocal that, the presence of any member of the girl's family for a considerable period of time is looked down upon. The girl must go to her in-laws house and uh, look after them. But if the groom comes to his in-laws house very often, the eyebrows will be raised in his house, and he would be sort of, criticized, that see how he goes after his wife. And even in dire need, like if there are two sons and they are not looking after their parents, everyone will say that, see, he has sons, they have sons, but they're not looking after him. But when someone has only daughters, they will say, poor thing, it's so sad for them. How can they, even if the daughters are earning, they have their borders, they have their restrictions. Even if they're earning, they have to see the interest of their in-laws. And so, like, it's okay for old people with daughters to be staying alone and sort of looking after themselves, own selves, not expecting, it's not ideally expected that the daughter will come and look after them. If she does, it's okay, which is increasingly happening, but that is not the ideal position. The ideal position, anyone who sort of values the traditional ways of thinking, would say that this would sort of bring in criticism. See, she's coming and staying in her daughter's house for such a long period of time. So this is one way of looking at patrilocal residence. And of course, the ideology of appropriate behavior, that you must, even if you know that the man is wrong, you must stay quiet, because that is the appropriate behavior which is expected from you. So we come to, Bourdieu. He has sort of explained, we can take from him, he has said that these habitus are the mental structures with which we are born and which we grow up, and which molds our behavior. And the field is the external, field where the economy, the politics, and everything is operating. So the habitus in which we bear restricts our participation in the field. So the different values which are imbibed by patriarchy, they restrict women's entry into different fields outside. And even when agency is there, some women may cross the borders and come about, and but the overall situation for maximum who do not have the economic means, to be educated, and who do not have that social support which is required to exercise agency. This becomes a very important, very grave problem, grave issue for women to participate in the external world of public life. So, when patriarchy is affecting your private life, it is very much affecting your public life, which is also ridden with different elements of patriarchy. Now, coming to caste, we all know that caste is a patriarchal institution. Now for long, we as students of sociology, when we grew up a long time back, that was in the 80s, so we knew, we studied caste, and we said that caste is a social, arrangement of people on hierarchical basis. And it is based on ascription, not achieved status. Then there is endogamy, there is hierarchical occupation, and there are rules of commensality. There are rules of commensality which people must follow. They should not eat and drink together. And we are, as a part of that society, we never thought it critical to be critical about this notion of caste. Because in our lives also we have seen that that people, those, even in those days, there are different people belonging to different castes. The Brahmins wouldn't eat with people belonging to the non-Brahmin category. So we have learned this again and again, but it was the present generation of sociologists like Paramjit S. Judge who have come out with a totally different interpretation of this caste system. They say that, well, these are the features of the caste, but this gives us an objective understanding of caste. We must have a subjective understanding also. Now, what is that subjective understanding? That subjective understanding of caste places people at different, or in different, spots in the hierarchy, where they are meted out behavior ridden with a sense of repulsion, which is very much related to that feature of caste system which deals with purity and pollution, that they are polluting. So the lower castes, every time, the lower castes, the untouchables, they are sort of addressed in a way which arouses repulsion in the high caste, that they are so dirty, you don't even touch them. If you touch them, and even as recently as 1 or 2 years back, I was reading in the newspaper that one political leader was going to a village somewhere in northern India, and before his visit, all these people, they were given soap to clean themselves, so that they would not remain dirty. So, and how much they may bathe, they may bathe 5-10 times a day, they will not become clean because the dirt is within them. It is thought that they as human beings are dirty. So this same idea of dirt, this same repulsiveness in relation to men, a section of men places some people in a dominating situation, the ones who are pure and the ones who are impure. So women, to whatever category they may belong, high caste women or low caste women, they are very much a part of this polluting, system, that they are polluting. And that is why in religion they must occupy a sort of back seat. No religions, whatever they may say, they give equal opportunities to women. And for sociologists, religion is as religion does. Whatever any great person has written in books doesn't make any sense. whoever the leader may be, however great that leader may be, whatever he has written in books, someone may say that, see, he has written that women are so great. It doesn't make any sense, because what I see, I see. And religion is what religion must, as it behaves in front of me. So I don't see any religion giving any real importance to women. So, and this is because of her, the pollution which is there in her. So a high caste woman's pollution, ritual purity must be maintained, whatever ritual purity she has, outside her, the term of the month where she is considered to be immensely polluting. And just because of that, she is not given uh, a place in religious rites and rituals, even if she's not in that phase. Now, her sexuality has to be protected because she is the progenitor of my son, remember, not daughter of my son, and who is going to bear my kula, who is going to bear my family name. So when you are giving those 14, those lamps to your 14 purushas, in Mahala and other thing, those purushas are purushas only. They are not women. So you find that this idea of caste is so much ridden with patriarchy, and anyone and the and the child born out of a high caste woman and a low caste man belongs to the lowest category of human beings. So, if you have watched the movie Goinar Baksho, you will remember how that young girl, the pishi of that house when she was young, and she liked that low caste man there. How she was, like what happened to her after that. Even when the males of that family, they were always having interaction with women outside the, other than their wives, among women who are not at all considered to be of good character in any society, or as society understands character of morality and immorality. So you find that this idea of caste hierarchy and gender hierarchy are very closely related to one another, and purity of women among the higher castes is something, family honor is something that the women must always bear the family honor. It is something different that the men can go anywhere and do whatever he wants, but the family honor must be maintained by the women. And she is the one who will be punished if family honor is not maintained. So all the restrictions are on her, on the high caste women. See how the high caste widows also are there, how what their lives are like. Even in today's India, you find so many widows in Kashi and Benares. Why is it so? They are young women also, so you get rid of the surplus women. You get rid of the surplus women in what? Two ways. Either you say earlier on they would be burnt alive, but now you send them there. It is strange that even today you have women, widows who are sent to those places. Or there is another way of doing away with surplus women, that is by killing them at birth. You will be surprised to see the number of female infanticides which happen, like in the 2011 census. You will find that child sex ratio, to what extent it has gone down. And very often the reason is it happens among the higher caste, richer sections. Why? Because getting a groom from the same caste is very costly, and there are, to save family honor, this girl might grow up and be raped. This girl might grow up and try to be independent and not save the family honor. She may go out of her family norms and get attracted to someone of a lower caste. So in order to prevent all those things, in the name of maintaining the honor of your family, you go out and you don't let her be born also, you kill her in the womb. So this different fundamental principle of Hindu social organization is to sort of create a closed social structure. And I'll come to the situation of the untouchable women just after this. And how this process of Sanskritization happens. And when you go to rethink this process of Sanskritization, from a viewpoint of a critique of Brahminical society, you start wondering that Srinivas had said that Sanskritization is a way of upward mobility within the caste system, because the caste system was criticized that it doesn't allow people, it is ascriptive status, it doesn't allow people to rise in the caste hierarchy. And Srinivas says, see, no, that is not the truth. See how people can go up in the caste ladder by being Sanskritized. So actually what Sanskritization boils down to, that once you get Sanskritized, you become a part and parcel of that exploitative social order which Brahminical society represents, the Brahminical high caste society, which is ruled by the high caste people. What they are doing, you become a part of their, whatever they are doing at the level of belonging to a high caste category. So one needs to really reflect upon, even, and now of course, we see that this process of Sanskritization has taken a back seat. Now there is this process of desanskritization going on, and maybe we need to ask ourselves whether this process of Sanskritization really means upward mobility or it means something different. And for women also, you find, there is this instance in Kerala where a dam was constructed to supply irrigation water to dry fields. Now, before the dam was constructed, agriculture was simple. Women played an important role in agriculture, and society was sort of um, running quite smoothly. Now, once this dam came up and agriculture started flourishing, what happened was that surplus was created, people started earning money, and once they started earning money, they started Sanskritizing themselves. And what had been the consequence on women was the same as they were now to behave like upper caste women. Dowry became the norm, and all the evils associated with dowry also were introduced in the society. So this is what happens, when in the and how patriarchy gets reflected in the functioning of the caste order. Now coming to great people like, people like Ambedkar, Jyotirao Phule, who really thought about these issues, Savitribai Phule, Periyar, they all said that Brahminism was oppressive not only for the Dalits but to women as a whole. That is, all the women are sort of victims of Brahminism. Now, if we come to the Dalit women, the untouchable women, you will find that she has all along been very vulnerable to the sexual exploits of the high caste men. Even around 2002 or 3, a book has come up which has been edited by Harsh Mandar and some other sociologists. I now forget the name, and they have shown how even today the rural women belonging to the Dalit category, they are getting exploited in the hands of the upper caste men. And our religious traditions are also there, that where Manusmriti says that a Brahmin, Kshatriya or Vaishya man can exploit any Shudra woman. So the caste system continues to be crippling. And there are two stories where you find the domination of the relationship of power of upper caste men upon the lower caste women, upon the untouchables. Now, the first, I wanted to take up two of the stories, but I don't know whether I'll have time or not. One is that of Rudali. You have heard of the film Rudali, and this is a story written by Mahashweta Devi. Now, she shows in Chotanagpur region, there were two groups of people, and belonging to the lower caste, and how the upper caste Rajputs who had entered Chotanagpur region long time back, because there seems to have been a rebellion of the local people there, and the king had invited the Rajputs to protect him, and after that he gave them a lot of land. And then this relationship and the Brahmins of course gave them the Kshatriya status in that region, and then this relationship of of oppression on the Dalits started. Both men and women were oppressed among the Dalits, but women naturally being at the present, at the intersection of caste, class, and gender, they are affected in a worse way. So you find that this is a story of the Tahad region where the Rajput Khatriyas, they were used to sexually exploiting these women, and after that, not only that, after a period of time, because they didn't have enough men, the elites, the Kshatriya rulers, they didn't have the landlords, they didn't have enough people to cry for their own people, because once someone died in their families, they were busy thinking about what will happen to the property or other issues. And maybe they were not sad enough, so they used to bring in people, criers, paid criers. And here, how the life of a woman named Shanichari evolved is reflected in this story, Rudali, who had to cross so many, hurdles in her life. And then ultimately, it was a type of vindictiveness on her part that initially she took the task of Rudali, which was very much, which was not very easy for her. It was very difficult for her, because when we hear the term Rudali, it doesn't affect us, but when you really think about it, when you cry, when you are really moved, when you are really sorry, when you really feel emotionally upset, but see, your tears are also being made into a commodity. So, how difficult it is for a person to become a Rudali, and how she used this status as a Rudali later on to exercise agency. Like at the end, like you have different postures in crying. You can just cry, sit and cry and lament, and you will get one rate. You start rolling on the, you start making gestures, bodily gestures which reflects grief, there is another rate. You start like rolling on the ground, that has another rate. So one, the main Mahajan, the main Thakur, he died, and Rudali exercised her agency, and she invited hundreds of Rudalis there, and they started crying, and they started making those mannerisms which are supposed to be most costly. And that is how, at the end, we find she exercises some type of agency on the Thakur, and some type of revenge is derived, even if for a particular occasion, and she has to go back to her own life later on. And as a Rudali, or Rudalis also cannot perform this function throughout their life, and naturally they revert back to their original situation. So not only, I'm just trying to show you that how, to what extent the lower caste women are subjugated. So you find the body of the lower caste women is not polluting. High caste men can have sex with them, but when they enter their house, they cannot enter the kitchen of the house. The women of the Rajput households or any other high caste households will ensure that the lower Dalit woman does not enter the house through the main gate. There is another door at the backside, and she has to enter through that side. But the fact that her husband has no qualms about having sexual physical relationship with this lady only at night doesn't bother her. And this goes on. When they cannot repay their debt, they have to send their women. So this is also going on, and agency is there, but see how costly agencies can be, your exercising of agency can be. And this we see increasingly, that when women, and mainly those belonging to the lower castes, are trying to exercise their agency, how they are treated. For example, some days back you heard of the Balarampur rape case. This girl was very ambitious. She wanted to do something for her society, and she was already involved in some type of social work in that area. She went to get admitted to college, and she returned, they raped her and they beat her up, and she was half dead as she returned home, and she died after that. So exercising agency is also very, it is not something very smooth. Social environment must be there where exercising of agency is possible. For example, at one point of time, in the middle of the 19th century, 1850s, there were two women. There were many women who were there, but today I mentioned two of them. In Bengal also, we usually know about the women of Bengal. We don't know so much about women outside Bengal. So you have names of two persons, Pandita Ramabai and Tarabai Shinde. Both of them were high caste widows, and they were so, fed up with the oppression which they suffered, that Ramabai rejected Hindu society. She became a Christian, and Tarabai wrote a book, which the name of the book was Three Purush Tulana in Marathi, and she sort of tried to express her feelings in that writing, what she saw. Now, I suppose, am I supposed to stop? I have just one more part to finish, and then the last part, which I'll finish in 5 minutes, maybe. Can I take five
You
minutes?
can, yes, certainly, you can continue.
So, last we come to the development of the self. Now, in sociology, we have two types of theories revolving around development of the self. One is that which is written by Mead and Cooley, and the other by, later on, based on writings of Foucault and others, where in the initial one, we develop through socialization. Self develops through processes of socialization. That when I interact with someone, a an idea of myself evolves in my interaction with others. When I'm interacting with my students, I know that I'm sort of having a type of a superior position because they are showing me respect. But because I am a woman, and additionally because I belong to a lower caste, you are not addressing me properly, then myself will evolve in a different way. Right from my childhood, I see the men being treated in a particular way, women being treated in a particular way. Myself will not develop accordingly. I will develop. So, creation of the self is a very much layered thing. It is not a direct thing. It depends on the society where I am. It depends on how I have grown up. It depends on the and the other approach to self development is related to power, it's related to domination. So where there is power, where there is domination, self cannot evolve. Agencies can happen for some, but it is not very easy to exercise agency when you are growing up, when you are socializing in institutions which are so patriarchal, which are so caste ridden, and you don't really have the freedom to unfold your personality. Your personality doesn't unfold on the lines as you would wish them to unfold as a human being. So I think I should stop now, isn't it?
Uh, Professor
Huh.
Biswas, you can continue for a few minutes if you wish, just to tie up
Hmm.
the different
Yeah.
sections, and that
Okay,
we
then.
have the
So
time
now,
for.
ultimately, what I have tried to tell today is that patriarchy is something which is an ideology. Patriarchy is not only related to men. Women can become very much an agency of patriarchy. And even today, when the constitution gives us equal rights, it's very difficult unless there are real social changes. We have so many, even capital punishment for rape will not really lead to any decline in rape, because the material conditions, and more so when there is greater masculinization of society at every level. Everywhere you see belligerence, stridency, things which are supposed to be associated. I'm not saying that all males are belligerent, all males are strident, but features which are associated with masculinity, they are being glorified everywhere. And features associated with femininity, they are considered as effeminate, they are not considered as desirable. So in this type of a situation, it is difficult And when the caste, you see the caste system everywhere. When we were young, we never heard of the caste system as much as we do about the caste system today. It is coming up, and we know that, like, it is not legal, but you have Brahmin matrimony, you have caste matrimony. How can you have that? That is totally illegal. You can't come up with this type of Brahmin matrimony. So you see caste also coming up, conflicts coming up, lower caste trying to exercise agency, women trying to exercise agency, but they have to fight it out, because you cannot enter someone's domain. They feel threatened. You cannot enter someone's domain and they will just sit idle. They will also react. So that also must be faced, and there must be an attempt to ensure that the self evolves in a way which contributes to the development of a fulsome personality and evolution of a human being, either male or female. So this is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Biswas. Just a few things that sort of came to my mind as I listened to your wonderful presentation, because I think it was wonderful in the way you uh, took examples from real life events, from literature, from popular culture, and social media to underline some of the problems which beset our society at the moment. And as you have correctly identified, that patriarchy and caste are sort of two extremely powerful shaping, I mean, very powerful forces which shape our sort of ourselves and the way we construct our identity. Uh, in this context, what do you think? I mean, because you have been a teacher and a researcher for such a long time, and you have worked extensively in Northeast India and in West Bengal. What do you think of the situation here? Because we like to sometimes think that we are probably a little more, we give more importance on gender equality, and we put less emphasis on caste, for example. This is something that we sometimes believe. Do you think this is borne out by what you have seen as from your
Yes,
own
what I have
experiences?
seen is that if you talk about caste, maybe the higher caste, Brahmin caste, it's okay, but not with the lower untouchable caste. That has not happened to a very significant level. And the equality is there, and the socialization of girls also is sort of problematic, like the way they evolve, the way they develop, and when they, like, it's sort of it is very often I see it has become like a half baked situation, that despite getting all the opportunities, they very often are limited in their vision of life. Like, I have got this chance, so my life in a way can be an example. This type of an attitude, the acceptance of the problems which are facing women, is not there. That I have become this, I have done this in life, I'm here, but it doesn't mean that I have to, I'm not going to spread it out, and the vices which have been there earlier on has been accepted, has been adopted by me. I have, like, I am very much comfortable with those vices which are there. I'm making use of them also. So I'm neither here nor there very often. It turns out like this. I'm neither here nor there. So I think that in this whole situation is so confusing that women also must introspect that what is happening in the wider society, whether it is whatever I'm getting, like I get employed, and then when, as I have said, it's not only men who are bearers of patriarchy, it is women also. So I have enjoyed, now I have a son, but I am behaving with him exactly in a different way. I'm not teaching him to be to evolve as a human being, giving due respect to everyone. I'm thinking that if I have a daughter, I'm expecting her to do some type of work. I'm expecting my son to do some type of work. So this is something which is happening, and which I have seen that this generation, the girls also need to introspect. They need also to think that to come out of this, that since I've got the power, I've got the means, I must try to come out of this. This is something is that is desirable, I think.
Uh, and also, another interesting thing that you pointed out is that for women to be successful or to be considered successful in this patriarchal society, you almost have to adopt the male qualities,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's not the female qualities which are given importance. Uh, Again, because it is sort of a problem which is there, and we have to somehow find a solution, or at least strive towards certain solutions. If you, as a teacher, can just tell us and tell all the students about the qualities that your female students, for example, have, which they need to nurture, and that's something that the male students also have to learn from them. If
Yeah,
you can just tell us.
the first thing is the question of mutual respect. Like whoever you are, there must be a feeling of mutual respect among each of you. And and the men also, they can come out, the way they treat women, like you have a bike and the girls are also so happy pillion riding on the bike, and there is a competition that he asked me to ride on his pillion, and then the other girls getting envious. So these are not the real things in life. They must understand from young childhood, like young, as long as they're, and the paraphernalias of life, they are not the real things. Like, even you must understand, because life is not easy. Whatever is coming ahead of you, it's not easy. You must learn to fight it out. So just, like, whenever there is an advertisement that uh, that there is a car and the man is not there, but that car is, like, it leads some girls, young girls, to fight among themselves. Then why should I get, like, why, how can they dare to have this type of an advertisement? Because in reality there would be girls who would be envious, who would like to have someone, like, with a car. Someone without a car is less attractive to them. Someone with a costly car is more attractive to them. So they must learn to understand that an attractive car is not something so important in your life. A costly car is not all that important in your life. There are other things which are there in your life. So when there must be some protest, like with the way the objectification, in terms of literacy, women are so much, percentage wise, there is a large gap. But you see any advertisement of coaching classes, you see any advertisement of computers, there is always a girl there. Why shouldn't the girls think that, see, we don't use, boys are using these things so much more, then why is the market using me? Then give me my cake, give me the share of my cake from which you are earning so much. They must start thinking. I tell my students, and they are, they are, despite being students of sociology, they are not very much socially aware. That is something which is very important, that become socially aware. Like, otherwise, you have been going on, this has been going on for such a long period of time. And the fact that the right from childhood, women are, girls are taught that marriage is the ultimate. Your having a family is in your interest. It's not the interest of the men. It is not the interest of your in-laws that there is a family where the wife is, where a daughter-in-law is there. It is in your interest that you must have a family, you must have husband. If you don't have a husband, you'll be looked down upon. If you don't have children, you'll be looked down upon. You'll be looked down upon. So this whole glorification of family, glorification of marriage, leads girls, young girls, to fight out over that. Ultimately, I'll have to get married. So why do you have, like, why think in one way only? There are so many other options. And that, and then I'm getting married, and in the family where I'm getting married, Even if I'm supposing, if I'm working, my parents are not getting the equal respect which my husband's family is getting. So why don't I think about these things? Why don't I think about more serious things? Why do I have to, go after all this? Maybe I'm old fashioned. I don't know. This generation, young girls might be saying some, might be thinking in a different way. I don't know. But this is what comes to my mind.
Right, and the other thing that I was thinking about is that talked about sort of getting back the agency and
Mm,
economic self independence can be one
of
means of
course.
that. Uh, and here, because you have worked among self-help groups, and that's been a sort of an innovation which has probably helped women get a financial foothold. And what is your observation on that? If you can just tell us as a researcher.
Yeah, but I have seen in the case of tea garden women workers, like what has happened. This Chandwani tea garden, which was there, now you have city center Uttarayan. There was this tea garden, and I worked among the former women tea garden workers among them. There is such a big shift, earlier on the husbands, here mainly they are the mundas or else they spend a lot of money on drinking. So the earning of the woman was so important for the family, and she was held in much respect. Now this tea garden is no longer there. They, even if they get work, it's not, really respectful work. Then their sons have come up. Some of them had gone for contract, getting contract work in sand or cement or stones, whatever it is. Now they have become more powerful in the family. So I have seen among them how the power of the women has sort of gone down, because earlier on they were, the children would look up to them, that mother will bring back this, they'll, their education and all those things. Now that it is not there, their status has really been undermined. So I think, just imagine, they have from, I mean, workers in the organized sector, they have lost so much after the tea garden was done away with.
Thank you so
Mm,
much, Professor Vishash, for making a very good presentation, and I think it's very relevant to all of us to think about these things and to understand the forces that shape our lives. I think the takeaway from this presentation would be uh, to be more socially aware, to have mutual
mm,
respect among all, I mean, among the different genders and among the different kinds of people that we are, and to constantly be aware of the forces that are shaping our lives and fight the injustices which
mm.
are there. And I
Sure.
think you have, yes, and you have very sort of in very simple terms, you have identified these problems that our society faces, and also the need to fight these forces whenever required. Thank you so much,
Okay. Thank you.
Professor
Thank you
Vishwas,
so
for
much.
being a part of this series, and we hope that this lecture sort of helps all our viewers also to understand their lives in a different light. Thank
Can
you
I
so much.
know how many viewers were there? Can I know how many viewers were there?
Uh, I am only able to see the current number of viewers, which is quite low at the moment. It's about three.
Okay.
But I'm not sure this
Uh,
whether there were more people earlier. And the other thing is that the educational and cultural station continues to keep all the videos of these lectures on their site, and they
oh,
do get a lot of repeat viewers. Yes. So it's not like this program has happened and anyone who has missed it will not be able to watch it later.
okay,
People
okay,
do keep coming back and looking at the videos later.
okay.
Uh,
So that YouTube link I can give to my students also. They can also watch it.
Certainly, certainly.
Okay,
And
okay,
that YouTube link will continue
uh,
to work. Yes.
okay,
And
okay.
to all our viewers, we just want to let you know that next week, next Sunday at 11 a.m. we will have another lecture in this series, and we thank all our viewers, all our speakers in particular, for taking time from their busy schedule to be part of this lecture series. We would like to thank Sheikh Kamruzzaman, the head of the Department of Sociology in the Para College, and also Educational and Cultural Station Belur, and especially Sri Ramkrishna Mondal of TCS. Thank you
Thank you.
and goodbye.
Bye.